Earth-observing satellites are an integral part of tackling climate change. And for years, they've provided scientists and decision makers with facts on how our planet is changing. The European Space Agency are playing a pivotal role in satellite missions, and Simonetta Cheli, ESA's Director of Earth Observation Programs, joins me now. Welcome, Simonetta.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us about the history of Earth-observing satellites and their importance, especially when it comes to our changing world?
Yes, Earth observation satellites have started in Europe with the European Space Agency Meteosat program. It was launched in 1977. We followed up with missions which were rather optical missions from the 90s, ERS-1, ERS-2 Envisat, and today we have a fleet of 15 satellites, which include meteorological missions developed with EUMETSAT, the operational Met Agency, Copernicus mission, which are operational missions developed with the European Commission, and then science mission. We call those explorers. And on top of that, the split of mission, which is, by the way, the biggest and the most relevant to support climate and environmental issues worldwide in terms of data and number of instruments on board, is also complemented by a lot of new space initiatives and commercial endeavors and constellations.
How do these satellite observations empower climate action?
Well, basically, what space can do is to contribute a lot to support the climate challenges in terms of understanding what has happened in the past, looking at the monitoring the situation and the current situation on Earth, and also they can help us to predict, to mitigate, and to adapt for the future, which means basically the data coming from the Earth observation satellites can support all the elements which are related to the context of the United Nations Environmental Convention on Climate Change in terms of adaptation, but also in terms of mitigation. And today, we're not just looking at the state of the art of our planet, but we also assess and start to work very much on prediction models and evolution models of that climate system.
Now, there are already a number of ESA missions related to climate change in place, and a number in which the UK are heavily involved. Can you tell us more about them?
Yes, the UK has always played a very important role in the context of the European and European Space Agency Earth observation activities from the start of it, from the 90s and even earlier, both in the meteorological mission, in the science mission, but also today in Copernicus. In fact, just recently, the UK joined back even the Copernicus program on the EU side, which is really good news for everybody. And the UK is particularly active on a number of satellites. For example, Biomass, which we are going to launch very soon. It's a satellite where there is active participation by UK industry, and it's a very important satellite what we're going to launch, which will look at basically the biomass and look at forestry, and also will give us much more detailed information about the canopy of such forestry. But also Truths. Truths is a mission that was born in the UK, Europeanized, and it's a mission that will be launched in a few years, essential for calibration of data, which are very, very important in terms of calibration to support also the climate activities.
Now, the UK has recently rejoined the largest operational Earth observation program in the world. But what benefits will this have?
So the UK would certainly have immediate direct benefits of joining back the family of the Copernicus program. On one side, they never left ESA, and they are part of ESA, but Copernicus is a co-funded program. So it's really important to be on both sides, on the EU side and ESA side, in terms of benefiting from that program at the level of the scientists and the scientific community, but also at the level of the industry. In fact, joining back the program, which will formally be starting on the 1st of January, will allow industry and UK industry to go back and do the ITTs, which are the tendering process, and win contracts related to Copernicus, which is essential, I think, to be part of the game, but also essential to benefit in terms of citizens of the great users and services which are coming out from that Copernicus system.
What is the European Space Agency's vision for the future when it comes to satellite observation?
We need certainly to complete the ones which are in the making. We have 41 in the making right now, and we need to continue operational satellite system a la Copernicus or meteorological program, but also completing those with the science mission of relevance for climate, and of course, integrating the private sector with the new commercial initiatives.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fascinating.
Thanks a lot.